We live, baby.
It's live this time.
Or at least we should be. No, I mean I see the live here on the
I
restream.
mean, because I still don't see it on none of the pages.
I don't see it on Facebook yet either.
Oh, okay, I see it.
Yeah.
There we go.
On the Oh We Gonna Talk page.
Yes, but it's got the wrong title, so let me change the title if I can.
I still don't see it.
It's there.
Let me refresh.
And why it won't let me change the title? Is that a nothing? It's about men today.
Okay, I see us.
It's an old title, but it's not letting me change it for some reason. I don't know what's going on with it. But
You can change it on your Facebook.
I hope so. I'm gonna see if I can.
Well, come on.
I know
we live, baby.
We live and late with the wrong title for the show.
That's just Restream is tweaking today.
It is on something.
That's okay. Ain't no stopping this show. We present. Yeah. And y'all present. I see y'all coming on in the room. Welcome, y'all.
Okay. We sorry, y'all. We extra late.
Restream is trying not for us to be great regardless.
Yes, we are. They can't stop no show.
No. And you looking cute, might I add, sis. I see you with the Afrocentric garb. I see you with the red, black, and green.
It's all about the yellow.
For the Junes of the 10th.
It's all about the June of the 10th.
Okay. It's a celebration this weekend. Okay. Yes, y'all. I hope y'all find y'allself a Juneteenth event. If y'all don't have one yet, okay. The Black United Fund of Illinois will be having a Juneteenth. That's 1809 East 71st Street, Chicago, Illinois. Okay. Y'all find y'all way to the Black United Fund of Illinois for a Juneteenth celebration. Yes, it's going to be lit. We got vendors and this just in.
This just in. This just in.
Mic check 1 2 1 2.
Yes.
Your girl, Miss Natalie B. 'Tis me, will be speaking on the history of Juneteenth and why it is still necessary to celebrate today. So y'all come see me speak, okay? I'm gonna be dropping the history for you for the one time.
We're gonna be dropping all the knowledge. Is
dropping the gems for the one time.
For the one time.
Yes. And Chanel Lane will be opening up the event with a poem, My Black. Okay.
Yeah.
We got actually a whole lot of our former guests on the show will be there vending and like all types of stuff.
Girl,
what's your name? Siobhan?
Yes.
She'll be there with her. She's vending. Carlisa will be there with the photo booth.
I'm roundhouse because she didn't tell me that. She didn't tell me that she was vending. So that means we got to. I got to fight.
Yeah, so she'll be vending. Chanel will be performing. I'll be speaking. Carlisa will be there with her photo booth. We in there. Oh, we gonna talk style. So y'all come through, slide. Face mask up though, because we don't play them games.
Look, I don't know nothing about no darn. We out the pandemic. We is not.
Come with your hand sanitizer and your face mask. Okay, appreciate you. But it's gonna be a Juneteenth celebration. Black United Fund in Illinois. Oh, it's 11 to 6. I did not say a time. That would be helpful. 11 to 6 o'clock. Black United Fund. South Shore, Chicago. Spread the word. All the we gonna talk former guests gonna be doing something or other.
I love it. That's what this is all about, though. So we got Gino back into the. Hey, Gino, we got.
Yes, I had to do a upgrade. I said I don't like that grade. Let me
oh, you had not a wardrobe change, okay?
Yes, I had a chance.
A wardrobe change. She said, "We talking about men today." Let me show you.
Backstage. I mean, that's what you do backstage.
I know. I'm always excited to have Gino on because so Gino and I got a chance to chat a little bit
Yes, we
Was
did.
that earlier this week or was it last week? I think it was
It was last Friday morning.
Yes, it was. And Gino was right on time. He came through. We had a bomb conversation and talked about a man. You know, this man is incredible. And talked about so many things, which I was telling him, I'm like, see, this is why you got to come on, Gino, because the people need the word. They need the wisdom.
Give them the knowledge.
They need the knowledge, because I really think that people... and I'll speak for myself too. I will admit, especially even though I'm a Black woman, not always knowing how deep it runs for what Black men struggle with and what they're thinking about and what's on their minds and how they feel about themselves. Even you just kind of assume that men feel a particular way about themselves, and they don't. And so, you know, the things that they're telling themselves, the way that they are hard on themselves, we assume that women are just hard on themselves all the time. But the more I talk to Robert about certain things, the more I watch my son, who is a little person, but he's a boy, and just hearing the things that are constantly on his mind at almost 11 years old, I'm like, these things don't go away as they become adults. But I really just think that a lot of us are not even aware, especially Black women, aren't really in tune with just how much Black men struggle and what they struggle with mentally and emotionally. So one of the things that Nat brought up, which is going to be super important to talk about, is Black men don't self-care enough. And talking about how Black men neglect themselves and self-care also. And they do it in ways that we may not notice as lack of self-care, and that they're not taking care of themselves. So I just really wanted to have this conversation, especially this week, hitting into Father's Day.
Happy early Father's Day!
Happy early Father's Day! Early Father's Day, you know, all the wonderful fathers out there. So I wanted this week to be about highlighting the men. Sunday was a beautiful event. If you guys have not seen that heart-to-heart father and son from the Healing Academy, it can be found on social media. An incredible conversation. Please go back and watch it. And so we just gonna continue the conversation about the things that men struggle with every day, and hopefully we can get some enlightenment here, and we can start being more supportive to our Black brothers, because y'all need it too. Y'all need the love, y'all need the support from us. So you ready for this convo, Gino? We do have one more guest that should be popping in any moment now, so I'll be keeping an eye out for him. He had so much to say last week, and I thought it would be perfect to have
comments. He was cutting up in them comments.
Sure.
He was. So tell us, Gino, what do you struggle with or have struggled with as a Black man, like day-to-day stuff that we may not even know about?
Well, one of the things that I had to come recently to realize, there is a generational gap, a natural generational gap. It was there when I was younger, and now as I'm older, I'm seeing it again. There's some things, to give you an example, there's some things that during my coming up, in terms of when I was 20 and 30, that we as men really didn't consider when it came down to dating women. Like, for instance, it was not high on our list how much money the woman made. That just wasn't a thing. I mean, not that we didn't want her to work or we weren't concerned about that. It just wasn't a thing. Like today, young men, and I guess I get it, they may say that when I take you on a date, we're both paying for that date. When I was coming along, if I asked you out, that was my responsibility.
Lord, what am I telling you? Early.
It's even a thing. Whereas now it's a thing. At first, I was offended by it. I'm like, what kind of man invites a woman out and then say, hey, did you bring your ATM card? Did you bring it? Because if you didn't, you can only have fries. You know, who does that? So,
Speak on it.
That's how it is now. So I have to respect that, because we do live in a different time. In terms of what I struggled with, first of all, every Black man knows this. When you step outside your house and you go into that world where not everyone looks like you, you feel like a target. And the reason you feel like a target is because you are a target. And so there's this reality of knowing I'm going out here risking my employment just because I'm Black. It's illegal to be Black in America. They can say it all day, it's not, but it is. And there's a fear of not making it back home the same way I did when I left. Be it being fired for no reason, being accused, or even in now today's world, being pulled over and not making it home at all.
Yeah.
So that's a reality. But if I were to just bring it down a little bit, in American society, men across the board are not allowed to express their deep hurts, fears, feelings, things that bother them. That is elevated as a Black man. You are really not supposed to complain. As a Black man, you're really not supposed to complain. So we bottle all that stuff up. I honestly believe that's why we die sooner than our counterparts. Because it eats at you. And in our society, here's the double edge on that sword. We want to express ourselves to our women. But society has also trained her that if a man starts whining, and I put that in cashews, complaining, showing fear, then he's less than a man. What is erased from us is our humanity. We are not allowed in our society to be fully human as men. Because to be fully human, you're going to express when you're hurt. You're going to express when you have fear. You're going to express when you have concerns. But our society does not allow men to whine. Every man I know that has come to a certain point in his life can admit, when I had a really good cry, I felt better. It was cathartic for me. But in our society, we teach our boys, don't cry. Now, I'm not saying don't teach them to be tough. Don't teach them a little. But I think there's a way you can teach your men, your young boys, how to express himself when he's hurt. There's a so to speak, an art to it.
Yeah.
But again, the problem is when we do complain, our women, now I'm talking to our Black women, are also trained that he's whining. And here's the catch though. Some men do whine.
Some do, but not all.
It's actually whining.
But you know what? So I almost feel like, so what if here and there you do have a moment where you just like tired? Because I feel like whining is just exhaustion. It says when you tired, when you really, really tired, you may be a lot less patient. You may be a lot more upset. You may have a lot more emotion. But why does that have to automatically be seen as a weakness? Hell, I'm almost 40, and
how you done? We did come quick though, didn't it? At 21, it was like bang, 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 bang. All these birthdays start piling up. I just blew the candles out. Why am I having another birthday cake?
Facts. I feel like I'm getting that though, Gino. I feel like I'm getting it. But even as an almost 40-year-old, sometimes I have my days when I'm just like, I might be a little whiny. So it's just, so what if you whine with your wife or your woman in private? As long as you're not going outside doing that and you're not doing it about everything. Like there's a time to cry. There's a time to be upset. There's a time to be fed up. And I really think as Black women, we do have to be that safe space and unlearn that exact thing that you were just talking about, because we do perpetuate that, you can't feel this way, or you can't be upset, or you can't have these emotions. And it's not fair. It's not fair to men to
especially because on the contrary, in one lane, we're saying you whining, you crying, you can't show your emotions. But on the other hand, we're like, why don't you care about my emotions? Why don't you want to listen to me? Why don't you see me crying? Why aren't you reacting? And it's like, how do you want him to be mute on his feelings but automatically understand yours? That's not life. That's not reality.
Right.
In order for him to understand your feelings, he has to fully understand his own.
Right.
And there's no middle lane on that. It is what it is.
Right. If he is not connecting with his own feelings, how do you expect him to connect with yours? That's right. It's not going to happen, not properly. Now, I shared this with Sante last week. I said, now, I'm not saying this is a cure-all, but I'm going to give you a good point if you want to keep a man. Would you like to hear it?
Yes.
We want the people need to hear it,
How
Gina.
about, let me get my pen ready.
Get your pen out now. I'm gonna tell you a story, and then I'm gonna tell you the remedy. So one day I'm driving down Lakeshore Drive with my wife. I just got off work. I'm an owner operator, so I'm do my own thing. So I get off work, and she says, "Hey, we're gonna come downtown with me. I got to take care of some business." I say, "Yeah, I'll go for the ride." So we're riding along, and she asked me a question, really simple. She said, "What made you the way you are?" And all of a sudden, my background floods back to me, and I break out crying uncontrollably. She driving scared now. She's like, "What did I do?" We've been married at this point for like 30 years. She never seen me do that. She seen me cry from hurt, but she never seen me lose it until that moment. And I yelled at her, "Why did you make me remember?" Because I started having floods of things that bothered me, things that made me afraid, things that hurt me, and I couldn't control myself. My humanity was being expressed. When a man feels safe expressing his humanity to his woman, she has a very good chance of developing a very deep connection with that man. Now, the key is you don't share that with everybody. Like Santana said, you do it in the privacy of your own home. You don't share that with everybody. You don't tell your best girl, your girlfriend, your mama, your sister. You don't share that about your man. You don't. Because, and the other key to that is you still see him as the strong, confident man that you fell in love with. You see him no different because he expressed himself. Now, Sante, to what you said earlier about we need to relearn. It is harder to unlearn than it is to learn. And there's a reason for that. In your brain, well, let's say the difference between a woman's brain and a man's brain, the actual physical gray matter, is the column callosum. That's that connecting tissue between the left and the right hemisphere. When you learn something that you never knew before, which is happening to you right now, you get what's called a neurological pathway. In other words, a new groove. You know how brains have all those little grooves in it? That comes from learning. It actually comes from learning something new. So if a person got a real smooth brain, that means they know nothing.
They learn.
So once that groove is created from what you learn, it's almost impossible to erase. The key is it gets buried and you have to develop a new learning. You have to learn something new, like what you're learning right now. So when Rob comes to you and he wants to lay his head on your chest because he's so hurt the way he was treated at work, you as his woman still see him as strong.
Come here, baby.
Exactly.
I sure
That's
do.
what you want. You want the same thing when you deal with it. Now, no, I'm not gonna bring his name up, but this is.
But I even more so though, Gino, feel like he's strong because if I could see that pain and that hurting him, and he managed to get through the day,
yeah, exactly,
without losing his cool on somebody out there, and he remains calm, collective. He handled his business. He got his payroll done. He closed up his office. He drove home. He got home in one piece, and he was able to do all of that, even though, despite how he felt at work today, that is the epitome of strength.
Right. And it's also a testimony to the relationship and the connection between you and your mate. For him to feel safe enough to just let it all go. It goes back to, we had this conversation last week on the be his peace. That's saying, that's always said, be his peace. Like, you should be your man's peace. When he comes home, that's his island. That's his castle. You be the moat. Nothing's getting in or out of that castle without coming to see you first. Like, and vice versa. And he should be that for, us as well. And I think that's the part that people miss, because there's a strength in saying how you feel. It's easy to just eat stuff and just be like, I ain't gonna say nothing. Or just to think it by yourself. That's easy.
Right.
The strength is I know this may not get the best reaction, or I know you may look at me a certain way, or I don't know how you're going to take this, but I'm going to say it anyway. That's a courage. That's a strength. And I say this, but soft things don't break. Everybody try to be so hard. But baby, you take a piece of glass and drop that thing on the floor. Yeah, it's hard until it shatters into a billion pieces on the floor. Right. Try to break a pillow. See how long that's gonna take you.
It ain't gonna break. I mean, it may bust open and feathers and stuff may go everywhere. But
eventually, but you gotta do a lot of damage to that pillow for that pillow to break. You're gonna have to get some tools out. You're gonna have to do some work. And that's the thing. Like we have the wrong dynamic. We want to be hard. Even the women today. Like we want to be hard. We want to be aggressive. We want to hold it in. And I get life makes you build walls. I wholeheartedly get that. But again, it's that strength and that courage that when you find that right person, you can let them in and receive when they're letting you in. It's a give and take. And I just think it speaks to the testament and the testimony of a relationship when it gets to that level and how important that is. Because if you haven't got there in your relationship, anybody that may be watching, you should probably work on getting there. If you've never seen a tear, you probably need to start reconsidering what's going on in your relationship.
If you've never seen a tear, that means that there's not enough trust in that relationship. And then that's scary. And one of the things that I think is super important for us to relearn is that emotion is not weakness, it's humanity. And we have completely deprived ourselves of our humanity at times, like ourselves. The world don't need no help in doing that. Being Black people, that's already a struggle on a day-to-day. And so when we do it to ourselves and each other, it further breaks down our bond and our connection with one another. And that is so important why we need to have this conversation, because of the simple fact that we need each other. And if I can't allow my fellow Black man to be human, what do we have? What do we really have? Go tag you. Tag you in.
Thank you, sis. Appreciate you.
There's another component that has to be also said. Now, I don't want to just bring all of my toxicity that I've dealt with in the day home necessarily to infect me.
Yes, true that.
So there's a filtering that has to happen. I knew of a man that he was a real tough guy in his job. He was the boss. And so he had a lot of these junior associates that were trying to, elevate and be like him. And so every now and then he'd invite one over for dinner. But he was a no-nonsense, get-it-done type of guy. He wasn't mean. He was strict, but he didn't play around. So one day he invites this young man to come home with him for dinner because he wanted to see the young man advance. And so the young man was really happy to come home with him. And so he's just talking shop with him. They're riding home and everything. And so he comes up to his porch. And the man, the boss, rubs the bushes in front of his house. He just starts rubbing his bushes with his hands. And the young man following him thought that was just so weird. Well, the door burst open. Out comes the man's children. And they just jump the executive. And right in front of the junior executive, this man turns into a pile of mush and they're wrestling around in the grass. And his wife comes out and says, "You all are so silly." And he comes and he picks her up, swings her around, gives her a kiss. He showed a side of himself that the young man didn't even know existed because of the way he carried himself at work.
That energy, though.
So they had a wonderful dinner. And then he took the young man out to the car and said, "You're probably wondering what I was doing with them bushes." He said, "Well, yeah, that was weird. What were you doing?" He said, "The toxicity I have during the day, dealing with all the things that we deal with, and you know it, I mentally rub that on the bush. I don't want that coming in my house. So I leave it on the bushes. I don't want to affect my children with my negative attitudes, things I had to deal with. I don't want to affect my wife. I don't want her to deal with the children like that." Now, he did have the liberty that when things were too hot, that he could express himself to his wife. But what he did was the things he could handle, he handled. Because it doesn't mean every time I have a rough day dealing with traffic or dealing with trying to get my loads off and having a hard time and getting stuck in certain towns and stuff like that, I got to bring that home to Renee.
Right.
But there are times where I should have the freedom and the liberty and the safety as her husband to express my hurt, my humanity, my pains, my fears, my anxieties. I should have that liberty. And she should be able to look at me and still see the man that she has confidence in, but allow his humanity to express itself. That is what women and men need to learn and do. And there's a way to do it. There's a way to do it.
They want it. They look for it. Whenever they get to
and
deserve it. And when they have that person that strips that of them or belittles them because they tap into their humanity, that they shut down. That's it after that. And you never can reach that person.
It's that wall.
It's that wall. And then they put the barbed wire around it, the electricity on the fence. It's like
bricks out.
Exactly.
You know, exactly. All of that. And it's really important. I know for me especially, I really, really had to unlearn a lot of things before I got married. And once I got married, but especially when I had a son too, because I needed to make sure that I loved our son from a healthy space and that I raised him to be comfortable and secure in who he is. And a lot of that is going to come from me. So because I'm the mother, I'm the caregiver, I'm the person that, you know, nurtures him. And so, you know, they look to their fathers for examples on being a man, but they look to mothers on being human and being allowed to feel and to be nurtured and loved. So
also how they should be treated as a man.
How they should be treated as a man from another woman. Exactly. And so I knew it was super important for me to not, you know, carry a lot of things that you may hear around you, especially if you had, you know, mothers or grandmothers that's been hurt or scorned by men. And, you know, I needed to kill all that noise. Like it had to be gone because I never wanted him to, you know, to experience that pain or that anger from me, because that was going to be something he absorbed into himself and that he grew up to be as a man. And so in me telling him, you know, it's okay for you to be upset. I want you to be in tune with why you're upset. I want you to know how to express properly and healthily that you are upset. But I also want you to know that anybody that doesn't allow you to be human has no space in your life. And we tell him that very, very young. Like, we need you to know that, because he can come and tell mommy that he's upset and he can come in here crying. I'm going to say, well, what's wrong? Let's, you know, talk about it. Like, what is it? Go on and cry. And then we're going to get up and we're going to keep it pushing and we're going to move past it. And we need to give men the space to do that, because they internalize it then. They don't tell a lot of stuff because they don't want to be embarrassed. They don't.
And it grows. Like you said earlier, it grows with them. And I think that's the part too. Oh, with the tagging. Y'all know me. I was going to take it back to you know, history. And the root of all trauma, or at least a lot of it for Black folks, slavery. When we look at how we handle humanity as Black people, it's the same way the slave masters did. Shut up. What you crying for? What you whining about? What's wrong? Ain't nothing wrong with you. You alive, ain't you? Okay. I mean, it's the same thing. And it's been talking about generational curses and breaking them through conversation, because we're going to talk about it. That's where it comes from. And we for women, we talk about how women expect our men to be so strong and they're not supposed to have feelings, because you got to think about what that was like, beating a slave, and what men had to go through and what women had to see men go through. And if they showed weakness, what that meant for their lives.
Exactly. Now, I'm gonna go back to something that Shantae shared earlier. She mentioned about self-care. You hit a spot right there.
Natalie was talking about the self-care and how that was something that came up a lot in the Heart to Heart this Sunday, and we were talking about it before when we were trying to figure out what the world was going on with this here lab. we
made it work. We made it work.
We was super late on CPT time, but that's okay. We here.
Wow.
You know, we can do that. This is our week. We show up when we get there this week. This is all about us.
Right. But to our defense, we were here in the Zoom in the room on
time.
It wouldn't go live for us.
Right.
But in the conversation on Saturday, though, which we talked a little bit about, Gino, when we were trying to figure out the live going live.
Right.
Those men were some powerhouses as far as expressing how they feel, their struggles, and what was going on. And the truth really came out on this self-love and self-care thing where their children came up. It didn't really come up when the men were saying it for themselves, but in response to their children, the children were definitely afraid for their parents' lives, for their fathers' lives, because they were doing too much, they weren't slowing down, and they did not see them taking care of themselves. And that's a trauma right there that they're programming into the young people, and we may not look at it that way, but these kids are scared for their father's lives because they're not taking care of themselves.
Right.
That's programming trauma into those children. And then for young men, if their fathers aren't practicing self-care, then they won't know how to practice self-care.
Exactly.
Do men even know what self-care is?
What is that?
Now, personally, I get manicures and pedicures for that reason. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I don't and do care how my nails look. Renee likes them. She likes them looking good. She hates when my feet stink, so I take care of them that way. And I notice
she appreciates that.
And I like falling asleep in the chair and somebody working on my nails. So then I added massage to getting a massage every 2 weeks.
Now, hold on. I'm gonna let you finish. But can we? I'm gonna cut you. I'm gonna Kanye you for a second. Now, that's real. Massages, okay? That is not. Listen, I don't know if y'all heard my new coin saying, listen, it's the me first movement because self-care is not optional. Massages are not optional.
Right.
A lot of people think of massages as a luxury. Oh, it's a no. That's health.
The blood flow.
That's health and
all of that, because they get them knots out that does intervene with blood flow. Like all of that.
And when you got joint pain and knee pain, and shoulders and necks and all of this stuff, it's because our muscles aren't getting the attention that they need. They super tight and they wound up from living life. And we don't get massages because we either think it's she foo foo or it's a luxury we ain't got time for. Black folks, it's a lie. It's for your health. Go get you a massage.
Don't you get food?
Go ahead, Gino. I just had to say that.
Right. Last week I got a massage. So I'm watching the guys coming in. Guess who had the most melanin, the only melanin in their skin in that place? That was a man. Me. Get all these dudes coming in there, getting their massages, getting their stress rolled out of them. And I'm like, we need it more than anybody.
Yeah.
So I encourage a brother, if you want to, get some stress off of you, go ahead, do massage envy. Go ahead, get that stress out.
I
remember too. I made Robert go once to a reflexology massage. Because reflexology, why I really appreciate that too, is because they hit pressure points. So people don't know how different pressure points in the body affects everything, like blood flow, joint pain, like you said, oxygen flowing through, all of that. Like it really does affect you. Because most times we're not taking in as much oxygen as we need to. And there's a lot of things that can get in the way of that. And so he was kind of skeptical. He was like, I don't know about this. And it's not a regular massage. I said, no, you need to go. See, like he said, it was
it was amazing.
I was like, no, you're going to go. Robert, I've already paid.
For taking them.
And he was like, I don't know. People touching my feet and they doing this and that and the third. I was like, you're going. That man came back. He was like, my foot had been hurting you know, to be driving around. And you know, I was just like, I tried to tell you,
baby, you come out of massage floating, you be like, where am I again?
Listen, and you can't really, you know, I know when I go and get massages, and when I especially go for like reflexology, because they do everything, they do the whole body from head to toe. Right. And when I first got my first reflexology massage and I came out of there, I was like, I mean, the air, it was just all different. You had like this rush to your head, but really it was just having better blood flow and proper blood flow. And I slept like a baby, like all of that. And so, you know, to Gino and your point is that it's not an option. Men do need to do those things. They do need to self-care. I know we hear a lot, happy wife, happy life, but happy spouse, happy house. Like, he need to be happy.
Happy starts within.
It starts.
That point that the men made last week. Shout out to all the men that came on the show last week and everybody who watched last week. But if you're not happy or good or fulfilled within yourself, then you can't find that fulfillment or the happiness within someone else. You have to know you, love you, learn you, and then welcome somebody else into that to share that. But you got to know yourself first. And so if you are looking for someone to take care of or someone to take care of you, and this is for men or women, you got to first do what you're seeking to yourself. If I'm looking for someone to love me wholly, I need to love me wholly. If I'm looking for someone to pamper me, I need to pamper me. You have to do the things for yourself first. Right. So I think that's a beautiful point. But it also leads back to men, not black men specifically, not getting massages or not thinking that that's acceptable or accessible for them is the vulnerability aspect. You have to lay there vulnerable. Right. And allow someone to touch you.
Right. Tip though, when you do get those massages and they do those hours, make sure you drink a lot of water.
You have to.
Because all of the toxins that are being released now in the system, as they massage the body and the blood flow changes, there's some things that were sitting, now they're running free, and you want to make sure those get flushed out with a lot of water. So once you do, make sure you drink your water throughout the day, get your gallon in to flush yourself out. Well, you should drink water anyway. So
yeah.
Look, I don't know what's wrong with people in my house, including the dude that live here. Don't like to drink water. See, I drink about at least 2 liters a day. I have the big giant Essentials, and I just be chugging them. The rest of the people in this household, they act like it's acid or something. I be like, I don't drink some water. Like, what is wrong with y'all?
Water is self-care. Something as simple as drinking water is self-care. Something as simple as eating. People don't slow, especially when they're busy. People don't slow. I'm that people. I hope you understand that. I'm not talking about y'all. I'm that people. Okay. When let me just be honest, get busy, we don't even take the time to eat, let alone slow down and drink some water. That's self-care though. Slowing down to say, okay, I know this needs to be done, but I'm taking time to go get me a plate. Like,
I yell at Robert if he come home and say, I ain't ate nothing all day. I'd be like, you what? You worked all day and you ain't ate nothing. And I get really upset because you work up the street. If it need be, I would come and drop you off a grilled cheese. You know how grilled cheese. You know, I could DoorDash you something there. I mean, what?
Right.
You know, there's no way you should go all day without eating. Like, you can't do that. I'm not happy that you do that.
That touches on another point, though, sis. When it comes to men and not only self-care, but in general, this came up Saturday in the conversation as well. Men asking for help. It's a problem. Gino, you can let me know if you think it is. But the men on Sunday. And the conversation said they have a problem asking for help based on things that happened in their life when they were younger. They just learned not to, or whatever it may be. Men don't want to ask for help.
Well, yeah, that's something that is learned at an early age. Not asking for help. You don't want to come across as weak or whatever. You know, I deliberately make myself, if I don't know where something is in the store, I deliberately ask for help to train myself out of not asking for help. I mean, because I wandered around the store for a half hour trying to find where you keep the cheesy popcorn.
What's that cliche that when you lost and men won't ask for directions and y'all be
Look, men and women are so different. Let me explain to you how different we are.
Because I be like, red shirt.
don't look right.
Okay. A man will find something for $2, buy it for $4 because he needs it. A woman will buy something for $1 that costs $2. She don't need it, but it was on sale.
That ain't a lie.
That's just the difference. Men and women, when it come down to buying shampoo, who's the young man I see on the screen?
This is Wayne.
What's his name again? What's your name?
Wayne.
Wayne.
Yes.
Wayne.
Yes.
So,
he was so frustrated because the internet been acting stupid today, and I told him, "Don't worry, come through when you can. We like
internet ain't stopping no show. We gonna be great regardless.
We done all had technical difficulties today, so we just glad to have you. Welcome, Wayne. Thank you for joining us. Go ahead,
me and Wayne never met, right? We don't know each other, right, young man? We don't know each other. I know he hear me. Right. Okay. This is a fact. Let's say me and Wayne we don't know each other. Right, we don't know each other. Me and Wayne, we going to the store, right? And so we going to buy some man care stuff. We're gonna get our deodorant, we're gonna get our shampoo. I don't need shampoo, but we're gonna get our shampoo anyway.
What about the beard?
Okay. This is how we do it. We look at the bottle and we say, shampoo. We throw it in the cart. That's what we do. Mm-hmm. A woman, when she buys shampoo, she looks at it. Yep. She reads the ingredients. She opens it up. She smells it. She puts it back on. She wants to know the review of it. What does it do for dry hair? I have oily hair, but I don't like it when it dries out my hair. I need something that's going to work.
Ask on Facebook. Somebody used it before.
You gotta know about the porosity of our hair. I'm curly. Is this good for curls?
B12.
Right. And that's just a marked difference. Here's the beauty part of those marked differences. She pays attention to the detail. He pays attention to the logic. Can you imagine what a powerful group or a powerful couple that would be if you mix those two?
Come on, I knew that tambourine was coming. I
had to run to it.
He can show her where she needs to back off, and she can show him where he needs to pay attention.
Yes.
If you blend that two, that's what it was supposed to be. You're supposed to be each other's strengths. The problem is we're so disrespectful of each other because of the male-female issue. Who's better? You're both best together. Who's better?
I don't got no instrument. Can I just clap?
Come on, I'm gonna shake it again for you.
Hercules.
Let me explain what I mean by that.
Speak.
If we see a woman's point of view compared to a man's point of view is panoramic. She can see around the corners compared to the man.
Come on.
That's because we're going back to it again. The column callosum, the left and right hemisphere of the brain. Hers is wider. Once testosterone hits that area of the brain, it shrinks down, and that is male forever. Period. Now, the reason why it looks like a woman can think with both sides of her brain at the same time because that area is so wide. But this is what it allows her to do. Say, for instance, Shantae, you laying down in bed and you get your lovely husband laying next to you and you sit up straight in bed and say, something's wrong, baby, something wrong. And he says, girl, what you talking about? I something wrong. Did you hear something? No, I didn't hear anything. Can you just go downstairs and check? Check for what? Oh, baby, please go downstairs and check. Oh, he drags himself out of the bed, stumbles on downstairs and finds the front door wide open. Now, how does she know that?
Instinct.
Now, here's what is a known fact. Did you know that Oprah Winfrey used to keep $2 million in cash in her house because she was afraid that one day she was gonna be broke? A man typically does not have that type of fear. When we don't think about that kind of stuff. We don't think we're going to be broke and homeless one day. A woman believes money is security, and rightfully so. It is security. Don't you like your money? Don't you want it in the bank?
I don't have enough.
Exactly. I don't have enough. Wayne don't have enough. We don't know each other, but we know this. We both don't have enough. We know that about each other. Okay. Now, a man does not think that way. He thinks he's going to conquer the world. Now, of course, he's not going to do everything. Right. Can you imagine what strength you'll have if you take her intuition, take his confidence, blend it together. Come on. They work together. She can teach him where to be cautious so he's not overconfident. He can teach her, hey, you need to have confidence in this area because confidence is competence. And if you're competent, you can have confidence. Can you imagine what happens to that couple when they learn to blend those two?
That's it.
Hold on, I'm not gonna play with you. No, sit back though.
I know.
Right.
That's what happens when you just drop. That's what happens when you just drop the mic on the.
Did you
the
see
mic
him
on the
drop
comment.
the mic? Okay, so it wasn't just me. He was like, take
but
that.
I think, the problem of where this is that people over the most fundamental things in a relationship to why a relationship is successful. You can't get to them. Guys do not have efficient communication.
Come on.
It's a super simple fact that so many couples skip over because they're rushing to the feeling of their desires. I want a man or I want a woman to. I know I'm lacking this. I know I'm lacking this to my life because I'm already doing everything else.
I'm gonna beat this internet because you speak. Come on.
So
I ain't missed the word neither.
I'm listening. You hear me?
The couple that the best are the ones that communicate. That is because sit up here and say, "Oh yeah, you don't argue like a old married couple." You damn right. Why? Because our communication, we gonna get to that phase where y'all sit there and y'all just fuss about it. Then when the argument is done like 30 seconds.
Right.
Then it's to get to that point. You have to, because if you can, all the other stuff just starts to fade. And as human beings, we are probably the most resistant to change.
Right.
We will love to change everything of us. Changing ourselves is the biggest challenge, and we don't want to do that. I'd rather change the way change me.
Come on, speak on it.
And people.
Oh, we keep losing there.
The
internet is getting on my nerve because he's speaking.
He's speaking.
But
yeah, he definitely speaking.
Changing around you isn't what empowers you. You is what empowers you.
Come on.
And for me to communicate with my partner that I weak in this area, feel a sense of judgment, not feel like, oh my God, did I fall out?
You here?
Yeah, you hear barely.
Okay.
But we can barely
pop up. I'm sorry, y'all.
That's okay. Wayne, you may want to try cutting your camera off.
To my partner.
If you cut your camera off, maybe that won't require so much
fear of judgment.
If I don't think you hear me.
Giving you my secret perspectives, you're looking at the world from eyes. That's a sense of security.
That's another good point.
That a lot of men crave and look for, that we don't always get, because just like men have been conditioned to say, oh, I gotta be hard, I gotta be this, I gotta be that. Do you know how hard is doing something that is hard? Tell you how I really feel about myself.
We still got you, Wayne. Keep on talking. You dropping knowledge.
I mean, listen. What company you got? We gonna have to drive that in.
You know, but we gonna have to definitely have to come back to, because he's speaking really important facts,
especially that last part about it's go back to soft things don't break. It's hard for me to say this. That's what's strong. That's what's tough. Holding it in. That's easy.
That and it's killing us.
Listen, Gino said it earlier. That's why men die before they spouses. It's because they got the weight of the world on their shoulder, and they can't let it out. If they can't let it out to their woman, who else can they let it out to? The world is hard. We supposed to be the sideways.
I know that this is a show about talking about that men struggle too, but one of the most important things for me, especially here at We Gon Talk, is accountability, and all of us need to have that accountability. And so when we start talking about accountability from our perspective, I really need us as Black women to stop being so cruel to our Black men and stripping them of that humanity. We really need to stop belittling them if they're emotional, if they are crying. I know I've seen sometimes men not even being able to grieve properly out of fear of crying in front of somebody else. So, and grief is one of them things that if you haven't experienced grief, if you haven't experienced loss and the magnitude of that person, being gone, it is a truly hard thing to have to deal with. And it's absolutely unfair that even men can't be human in that space. I've heard it so many times. I've watched it so many times. Like, that's his.
Well, what kind of monster though? Like, what kind of, you have to, it's a self-reflection Wayne was just talking about. What type of person are you, and what do you need to change within yourself that this man can't cry because someone is gone forever in this physical plane, at least? What kind of person are you?
The issue is societal training.
Yes.
And then when you couple that with, like what you said, slavery, we were taught, what's wrong with you? Take the pain. You shouldn't be crying. That's why to this day, doctors treat Black patients different than they teach anybody else.
Absolutely.
They can absorb more pain.
In 2021, they just took a survey, and whole real doctors practicing in these hospitals said that.
Yeah, they
don't think they hold the same pain threshold. We don't feel pain. We don't have these things.
There's a wonderful book called Black Pain. We just look like we're not hurting. And the author's name escapes me right now, but she's a known author and I can't forget it. She talks about the pain she went through as a Black woman, a successful Black woman. Now, one of the things that Wayne was mentioning earlier about communication, I'm gonna tell you a little secret how to make sure your communication stays good. It's really simple. Most people don't know it. Some people even deny it, but it's a fact.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a best friend? Do you have a best friend?
I do.
Can you think of that best friend? Okay, you have a couple best friends. Do you have friends outside of that best friend?
Absolutely.
Okay. Now I'm gonna tell you something without even now. Both of y'all are young enough to be my children. So ladies, listen to me like I'm dad, okay?
Absolutely.
There are certain things you will not do to your best friends. You just won't do it.
Mm-hmm.
You know why? Because they're your best friend.
Yep.
Think about it. If Robert was your best friend, and I'm assuming he is your best friend,
he better be. He better be my best friend.
She like, hold on.
You should be able to say that on your part at least. And he should be able to say it on his part.
You know, honestly, I would even say more so than that, because nobody sees me like he sees me. Nobody knows me like he knows me. And so I have my best good girlfriends.
Right.
But, best friend.
It's very different. And I don't even know if best friend absolutely encompasses that bond, because he sees.
I think husband might be the word you look
for. You know that. Yes, that sounds about right.
Let me drop this on you, young ladies. Okay. The reason why I say best friends is because it's a very simple formula. Mm-hmm. You don't treat your best friends any kind of way. You just don't. And so there are certain things that you'll pull back from on Robert, because he's Robert and he's your best friend, that you might do to Jack. Not that you don't like Jack, but Jack ain't Robert's
best friend.
You just don't do your best friend. There was an old movie years ago. It was before my time. It was an old movie. And I can't think of the name of it, but Jimmy Stewart was in it. And so he was a commanding officer. So this young man was interested in his daughter. So he I think it was called Troubadour. So he goes to Jimmy Stewart and says, I want to marry your daughter. He said, well, why do you want to marry my daughter? He said, because I love her. He said, love her? You got to like her.
Come on.
Now, the reason I say that is because you can think about people you love them right from over here, but like them as a person?
You love your family.
I love you, but like you as a person? No, I'm good over here.
Yep.
Okay.
I literally just said that to somebody, if they still watching. I was having this very conversation with Russia, and I was telling him that it's the difference between because it was like loving someone out of obligation, and I said no, you can love lots of people but not like them, and it's very different, and it's okay to love a person and not necessarily like who they are as a person.
That's what family members. I love them.
I love them to pieces, but don't like them.
No, you can't have $20.
Right.
No.
Or we not hanging out. Like I hanging out.
Right.
We're not hanging out outside.
I can love you from here. We're good. Okay.
Right.
But I think that's the thing too, with acknowledging and accepting people for who they are, and then you moving around accordingly. I can love you as a person, but still not want you in my space. I can love you as a person and I want to work with you. I can love you, for who you are, because that's who you are. But I think that comes with communication, and then again, knowing yourself and loving yourself enough to have boundaries, which is another a really good word.
Right.
Boundaries.
Right.
Because boundaries are a part of self-care. And I think men, though, you got the hardness. We already talked about what society is saying and being a man is. But quiet as it's kept, though men, perceive to have this brick wall up with the barbed wire, men need to work on boundaries as well.
Absolutely. Let me tell you something about ladies. I know I'm getting you all to scoot your chair up.
Because I'm already in it.
What do you think? Let me ask it this way. What do you think are two of the main things that men want and what women want? One thing for men, one thing for women. What's the one thing you think women want most?
Acceptance. Stability.
No, she wants as a person given to her.
Oh, okay. So acceptance, love, admiration.
Oh, those are good ones.
Questions.
Good ones. Good ones. Keep going.
He like, you ain't got it yet.
Honesty. I know for me,
Man, honesty.
I want transparency and honesty.
Transparency. Yes.
It's absolutely positively one of my most important things. Like, I may not like
it's non-negotiable.
It's non-negotiable. I may not like what I'm gonna hear, but damn it, I want to hear it.
Okay.
I want to hear it, and I deal with it. I process, and that's it. But I hope I hit where you were saying. What you got, Nat?
The number one thing.
I mean, I'm agreeing with you. I think respect is another one.
Respect.
Yeah, it is. Ding, ding, ding. You win. The woman wants respect because all of that other stuff is a byproduct of that.
It's the core. It's
right. The core is, do you respect me as a human, as a person, as a woman?
Because if you respect somebody, it's like the best friend thing. You're not going to do certain things if you respect me. You're not going to say certain things if you respect me.
So one thing that I do for
work, look at you catching on. Look at you.
You know, it is. I'm even like duh, because one of the things I do for work is teach healthy relationships, and we have our healthy relationships wheel. I don't know if anyone has ever seen that, but you can definitely Google healthy relationships wheel on Google and you will see it. And the center, the core of that healthy relationship is respect. And all those other things that we talked about, communication, respect, communication, accountability is one of the things that goes around there. Trust, affection, like it all centers around the core of respect, because it really is. It produces everything else. If you respect
so
that,
if any of those other things are out of whack, it's like, oh, you don't respect
me.
Right. And see, that's the point. What you just said. If a man beats a woman, hits her, and then turns around and tells her, I love you, and she falls for that, is he really loving her? No, he's not. If he's treating her badly, mistreating her, it all boils down to one thing: respect.
Mm-hmm.
Because I used to have a foul mouth. My mother never heard me curse not because I loved her, because I respected her. I did love her enough to respect her.
Mm-hmm.
I respect her enough to not do certain things in front of her. Okay. Well, if you have a healthy respect for your woman, there's just certain things you just not gonna do out of respect. Isn't that what we say? Show it out of respect, not out of love, out of kindness. No. It's out of respect. Out of respect. And I'm not gonna treat you less because you're not a man, because I respect your womanhood. I'm gonna give you.
Hold on, Gino. Run that back for the people in the back.
I'm not going to disrespect you because of your womanhood. I'm going to respect you because of your womanhood. I respect myself enough to know that I need you. I respect myself enough to know that I have too much respect for myself not to respect you. Because there's no way in the world I'm fully respecting myself and I'm disrespecting you. That's impossible. Absolutely impossible.
Because your wife is a reflection of you, is an extension of you.
Listen,
we are, and vice versa. We are an extension of one another. So if you are disrespecting me, or if someone else is disrespecting me, it should be like they disrespecting you.
Lord, exactly. I'm just manifesting in this conversation.
Now, let me give you the other side of the equation about what men want. You ready?
I'm ready. I'm listening. You got us.
So you guys, Wayne, Rob, I see Denise, Katrina. Yeah, listen to me good now. Listen to me.
You've been tuning in. I appreciate you, son.
And Denise, that's my mama. That's my mama-in-law.
Hey, Mom.
You know, it's real simple. A man wants admiration.
Yes, they do.
It's like a drug.
Mm-hmm.
All you gotta do is show admiration. Now, some women get hung up on it. I shouldn't have to tell my man, oh, honey, I appreciate you going out working every day. I shouldn't have to tell him that. Okay, fine. But if you want to really be happy to bring that money home, I'm not saying you got to do it every day. Don't do it. It'll wear out too quickly. But just every now and then, sprinkle a little.
Right. It's like hot sauce. Just
a little bit. Let them know, you know what, honey, the way you work, I love that. He'll be like, "Oh, baby, it's nothing. It's what I do.
Yes, I appreciate you for working so hard for us. I thank him every time he paid this rent because I know that we got a place to live, and it's not an expectation for him to do it. But thank you for making sure I don't have to ever worry about where me and these kids gonna live.
The man wants admiration.
That's a blessing, sis. Because all men ain't like that.
Let me explain to you about admiration.
Shout right now.
When a man is asked to do something, let's say for instance, you're moving and you want him to help you move some furniture. No man wants to appear weak. And he wants to be admired for his strength. And he wants that acknowledgement. Man, I thought that was too heavy. You moved that so easy. Oh, well, yeah, it was. It's not
I went to the gym yesterday.
Yeah, exactly. Let me tell you a story. My dad was really old school. So and he cooked. He was a great cook. My dad was a great cook. So he cooked some dinner. And my mother decided to invite her church girls over for dinner. And I can talk just like my dad. This is what he would sound like. I ain't bring all them old women over my house to eat up my food. Girl, I should charge y'all. So these ladies are from the South, so they come over to the house and they eat my father's food. My father's just whining about eating all my food. I'm trying to feed you. I ain't feeding your church. So they tell my father what a wonderful meal it was. Oh, Mr. Milton, I would hear your wife talk about your cooking, but I never do this. And he's like, So the next week, Dad's making dinner again. He says to my mother, "Hey, Eloise, yeah, Con, your church friends coming over tonight. I made some extra."
Come on here, get a plate.
I mean, because it is important, and I don't think that that is honestly one of the things that I think men do struggle with is not feeling appreciated and having this mentality as Black women, like, well, they just doing what they supposed to do. I get very offended when I hear this argument, and I usually have time when I hear somebody say that. But I got a minute for this one because the same thing said about Mother's Day, the same thing can be said about Valentine's Day.
But see, that's that part. On a daily, women, we do a lot. Granted, we do stuff that men don't even know we doing just to keep the house flowing. Right. You know what I'm saying? They don't even think about half the stuff we doing to keep the house flowing and the kids going, and him going, and me going, and work going. Okay. But the thing is that we still want appreciation for the things we do. He do see us do.
Exactly.
The kids look nice today, babe. Oh, you cleaned up before you went to work? Oh, you know what I'm saying? We want those things, and if we don't get those things, best believe it's gonna be a problem. So why wouldn't it be the same thing for him?
And that's the problem, is that it is not expected or reciprocated in a fair way that it should be. We absolutely should be doing those things. We should absolutely be thanking them, whether it's because they were, or you expect, or you have a certain standard or not. When that person is meeting that standard and they're making that standard a priority, that warrants acknowledgement. It's so unfair. Like, men want to feel appreciated, and I know a lot of men struggle with feeling that appreciation, feeling like you notice what they're doing, and that feeling enough, like not even understanding that
they already have the weight of the world on their shoulders.
They have a lot on their shoulders, and
like I think Gino said earlier, it's like they feel like a target walking out their home, walking into work, into a white society. Like so, in the comfort of your space, wherever your space may be, if it's your home, the grocery store, the car, wherever you are with your man in your space, they should feel at peace, and they should feel accepted and appreciated. Because if not, it just, that weight gets so heavy, and we wonder why men are suffering with these high rates of depression.
Right, exactly. Now, one of the things that I noticed in what you both were saying, in a nutshell, we need to learn each other's cheerleaders.
Yes.
I should be Renee's biggest fan.
Absolutely.
She should be my biggest fan.
And support each other.
Have to have each other's back.
Absolutely.
We have to. There's some concerns I leave my house with that my white counterpart doesn't think about. When I go on the road and I'm going to these little towns in Indiana, where I'm the darkest thing there, I have to think about, am I going to get out of here? I got pulled over one night in a town that had one black person in it. And that was me. 4 white cops. In the middle of the night, no cameras. How did I get out of that? One, I didn't show fear. I talked to them like I'm talking to you. We started talking about football, and my son played, and next thing you know, they're trying to help me out. Now, normally, I mean, that was rare. I mean, because I would have had some bumps and bruises, and that would have been just fortunate just to get that.
Right.
My point is, I leave my house with a fear that as a black man, because we are the number one target. I mean, our sisters are right behind us, but we are the number one target.
Absolutely.
And so when I leave my house, I honestly believe the only thing that saves me sometimes is my gray beard. I am less threatening. But I was a young cat, like my youngest son, 19, he's 6 feet tall, built like a superhero. I get scared when he leaves out.
I'm sure.
And so knowing you deal with this every single day and you make it home every single day, that's why we as men and women, black men and women, we need to be each other's comfort, each other's pillow.
Absolutely.
So we're not breaking.
Each other's safe haven.
I see what you do.
Safe haven. I want him to feel safe when he comes home. I want once he opens the door and he crossed the threshold and he closed and locked the door behind him, that now he knows he's safe.
Exactly.
And he deserves
that. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Exactly.
And he deserves. I think that's the thing too. Is like I think we talked about this last week as well. Wanting to come home. I feel like a lot of times, and we had, if you guys haven't, please go back and watch last week's show. We had a whole talk about how some men don't want to come home. They stay at work later, just sitting around picking up extra shifts, picking up extra hours because they don't want to be at home with their wife. And that's where the conversation of being his peace came from last week. But I think that's the thing too, is like men already have so many stressors.
Right.
Why he doesn't want to add a stress? And if you ask me, and one of the I talk to men all the time because I love knowledge and I love conversation. I want to get other opinions other than mine. So I talk to men, and one of the number one things that they say, and I think Robert said this in the comments last week too, was about nagging. Men do not want to be nagged.
Right.
They don't want to be nagged. The world is telling them don't act can't at work they getting told nope, can't
Right.
They don't want to hear from their woman. And I understand some women probably like, hold on, no, but I'm gonna tell them. I wholeheartedly get
the difference.
Because it's a difference. Because Gino already stated we have different mindsets. We have different focuses, but that's what makes us better together. Because you focusing on this, I'm focusing on that. We come together, we got the whole picture.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So, but it's a different way than just all in his face nagging, telling him what he ain't and then guiding him to whatever the direction is that you're supposed to be going to.
Right.
It's a different way to say. It's how you say things a lot of times more so than what you're saying. It's how you say them. You can say the exact same thing 2 different ways and it be received versus it be a fight.
Exactly. I can say good morning or good morning.
And a honey or a sweetie after that, and you win.
And I also think that it's super important to, and not just with the nagging, is that if they have a problem, you're being receptive to hear what that problem is. That you're not defensive. That if something's bothering them, that you're able to receive what's bothering them.
Right.
I think a lot of times there's a lot of anger,
even when it's you.
Even when it's you, like
especially when it's you.
But I think sometimes because women are battling their own different things. This is not our show though, ladies. We're gonna talk about those things next week. But just for the purpose of what things that men struggle with, a lot of times we done trespassed on them too. Now we done crossed the boundary. We done did or said something that rubbed them funny and didn't make them feel real good, and they kind of not even sure how to tell you, but they need to tell you so that you don't make that same trespass again. And sometimes because we might be mad at something he did 2 weeks ago and we never got that apology, we're not open and we're not receptive to recognizing and holding ourselves accountable that, you know what, I shouldn't have done that.
Right.
One of the things that's super important is we may both have been wrong in an argument. Now you may did something that produced the argument or whatever, but if I did anything where I should not have done it, regardless of if you apologize or not, I need to come and own my part. I need to
I have a question for you, something based on what you said.
Go ahead.
What is the point of an argument? Go ahead.
There's no point. There's no real point of an argument, but they do happen. Most time arguments happen because there's a lapse in communication between you and that person. It's a tug of war a lot of times. So a lot of times it's I wasn't invalidated. I was feeling invalidated, or I wasn't validated for something, and so I'm not giving you that.
But see, I think it comes down honestly to, do you want to be right or do you want your relationship? And
yes,
I think that came
arguments and disagreements are gonna happen. But
they're
gonna happen. I think what's super important is how you come out of that and making sure that you fight fair. So that's something that I tell people all the time. If you're gonna have a disagreement, there's a line that you don't cross in a disagreement. You don't attack each other. You don't go below the belt. You don't say things that you know is going to belittle or diminish that other person.
That lingers.
Because that lingers. So if you feel it, like one thing that we try to do, and when it's getting to that point, not to say we're perfect in this because we are humans, but we get to that point, we have to table. So somebody else table it now, because I don't want to say nothing.
Okay.
Let me take a minute.
Look, the point of an argument is not to win.
It's not.
Now, the reason why that's important is because if you win, that means you got a 50. Now, you're an educated woman, aren't you? What exam have you ever passed with a 50?
No.
I wait.
Wait, was it weighted? Did they go back and did everybody else get bad too? Was it a curve? Why was that curve on there? Exactly. I've managed to squeeze through with a curve now.
If you're trying to win
on a standard scale, sis.
If you're trying to win an argument, that means you're trying to make Robert lose an argument.
Which means y'all not winning as a
exactly. If he can't win, you can't win. So really, the point of an argument, and I'm talking to you like you're my children because I love you girls so much. Remember this, ladies.
Love you too.
The point of an argument is not to win. It is to advance.
Yes. And you may not advance in that moment. I really do need people to understand that when emotions get real high too, ain't nobody hearing nobody. Points get lost. There's nothing there. And then, it becomes something bigger than what it actually was in the first place. So it's important to table or walk away from it because every time you disagree, you need to go back and revisit that, not to argue, but find a way to move past that and progress. And then if you don't forgive each other, let it go. Like, let it go. Please. Keep moving. You don't pull it out as an ace in the hole when you're mad at the person again. Well, you remember last argument you said, you just need to let it go. But I do think that
goes to what Wayne said earlier too, on the importance of communication and choosing a mate based on the things that really matter in a relationship and not fleeting things is what I got.
Can I draw a picture? Because I wanted to say this when Wayne was speaking earlier about communication. Good communication looks like this. Have you ever gone past a place where they were building something new and you see that green fencing they put up and you see all the mud and bricks and it looks nasty? It just does. So 2 weeks go past and you see a beautiful driveway. You see the beautiful building they just put up. And you see how it looks nice now.
Now,
But they built that. Remember the garbage that was there before, that had been taken care of. When you have good communication, this is what you're building. This is what it'll look like later as you build communication. No, you're not going to have good communication in the beginning. You're learning each other. You're learning yourself.
come on.
When me and Renee first got married, we've been married 32 years. We've been married 33 years this November. We would have our back and forth, but over time, what we learned to do is have rules of engagement.
For the one time.
So, and Shantae, you hit it. When it gets to a certain point where there's an impasse, we stop. We table it. And I cannot tell you how many times this happened. Sometimes we table it and you think about it later and realize that wasn't really a good point. I had a chance to think about what you said.
Come on.
You know what? You were right.
Yep.
Sometimes we table it and actually.
But can we pause right there for a second, brother?
Reflection is also important as well. Self-reflection.
That part right there, we can't skip past.
Okay.
Coming back and actually saying that person was right or that you were wrong. To admit that, a lot of people have a problem with that. A lot of people, reflection was one of the things that men were asking for in a partner. Reflection, someone that can reflect. But a lot of men have a problem with reflection also. I think it goes both ways. A lot of people have a problem with reflection. And to actually admit that they were wrong. And then we had also the conversation about apologies and how women don't apologize versus men apologize, all that type of stuff. But the point is when after you notice that something is wrong or that you did something wrong or that you were in the wrong, after you think about it, to actually say it to that person.
Yes.
That's a step that has to be taken, not just acknowledging in your mind and never saying it. You have to say, hey, I'm sorry.
Yes,
I was wrong. We have to learn to say I'm sorry, and that's not a weakness either. That's a strength.
Importantly, on that same note of apology, which also piggybacks off of the jokes, I know that Dre, who's always on the show, says is that's another way that men struggle, is never being validated like that with an apology or feeling like they never have someone sincerely apologetic for something that they may did wrong. And men deserve an apology, just like sis. If he did something, he messed up big, you want your damn apology. And sometimes you want a grand apology. And so flowers, candy, etc. So you absolutely need to be willing to come with your own self accountability, because men struggle with that a lot.
Keep that same energy, sis.
Keep that same energy, sis. Like they really do struggle with, that's part of their validation and being made to feel like they're not worthy enough for an apology. Like I'm always wrong. When I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I can't be right when I'm right. And we don't need to.
And that leads to bigger issues within the relationship, because that leads to trust issues.
It does.
And it leads to resentment. And it also goes back to what Gino said, just telling him he did something good or that you feel appreciative of the things that he's doing and saying, you know what, babe, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have done that, or I shouldn't have talked to you that way. Just like we talk on the parenting side about how we parenting our children and we have to go back and apologize. Oh, I shouldn't have said it that way, baby. I'm sorry. We need to do the same thing with our partners. Immediately once it's realized, we need to step up, have that sit down and say, you know what,
I'm gonna bring it back. Hold on, sis, because I gotta bring it back.
Go ahead.
We need to do the same thing to men, sisters. All my sisters out there. We need to do the same thing. If we can go and apologize to our children, if we can go and apologize to our best friends, if we can go apologize to other people, you don't neglect that black man. You don't neglect his apology. You absolutely need to have the strength to go back and apologize. You don't have to be right all the time. You don't get.
I need a tambourine. I
got you, Gino.
You don't get a medal for it. It doesn't make you more womanly. You're not gonna get a stripe on your shirt. It does nothing.
It does not. Well, you know what? It does do something. It brings resentment.
And not only that, it will completely diminish the foundation of your relationship if you cannot be accountable and you cannot say I'm sorry too. And
we're going to want him to say sorry.
You don't want him.
We want him to say sorry. So you have to say sorry too. And it goes back to Gino's point. it ain't 50 ain't winning no test. If I feel good because you said sorry, don't I think you gonna feel good when I say sorry to you? Both of us have to be complete. Like what Sante said earlier, it ain't happy wife, happy life, happy spouse, happy house. It's about unifying together. We are better together with our skills and the way our brain works and all the other parts of us. Okay. We also have to understand that we are happier together when everybody's needs are being met. And if it's children involved, we better for the kids because they get to see a happy union and grow up in a peaceful household. Like we just have to understand it's not always about us as an individual, but about us as a whole.
You know what? I say this. I don't know too many women that like to admit they're wrong to their husbands if he's 100% right, and she doesn't want to lose the argument. And she sees she's losing the argument and his point is valid, for her to just break down and say, or I'm going to say it this way, be woman enough to say, hey, you know what, baby, you were right and I was wrong. Mm-hmm. And but here's the reason why, without that part of it. In other words, when you start putting excuses as to why you were wrong, then you're devaluing and invalidating his point. Mm-hmm. Because the only reason I did is because you did this and you did that and other things. It's like,
ladies, can we agree to cut that out? Can we stop?
It's necessary.
Can we stop, please?
It's necessary. It's another thing I really wanted to bring up too about something that men struggle with a whole lot. And I think also when I posted this question, I posted a couple questions on my page asking men specific questions. And one was like, what is one of the things you're hardest on yourself about? And what is one of the things that you wish or you're misunderstood about a whole lot? But there was another question I wanted to ask that I think it's super important that also us as Black women don't allow. We don't give Black men enough grace. And this is super important to me. This is such an important thing to me because I hear a lot of times when I'm talking to single women and people that are aspiring to have a husband, and they have this laundry list of things that they're expecting for this man to show up as. And none of it at times allows for grace, because I think a lot of men struggle, Black men, based on conversations I've had, with feeling like if I mess up, either she's gonna drag me through it because I made this mistake. She may leave if I made this mistake. I just don't have the space to mess up because I have to be spot on and perfect all the time. And I think we extend so much grace to other people at times, but when we don't possibly give Black men enough grace. And when I say grace, I don't mean it's okay for you to mess up. It's okay for you to mistreat me, or you to go and you to, be a whore and have all of these extra people. I'm talking about being
respect me.
Error. Right. I'm talking about to be human and have an error, because we all fall short. Like, I'm going to fall short. I think I'm pretty dope at all the balls I juggle and all the things I do, but I fall short sometimes. Right. Because I'm a human being, and we don't give enough space for men to fall a little short. And I think that they struggle with that all the time in the back of their minds about, if I fall short, then what? If I'm missing the mark out there, definitely let me know. But I did want to get Gino's point of view on that. And do men struggle with feeling like they have enough grace, especially from other Black women?
Well, one of the things, and I'm looking at Wayne's comment, and this will go with what he's saying. Sometimes if we feel like it's pointless to even try to defend ourselves because we know we're not going to win, it breeds a lack of trying as a result. Mm-hmm. I won't even try. Mm-hmm. Because she's going to find some kind of way where I'm wrong. And what happens is he feels alienated from her. Now, if he feels alienated from her, how can he bring his emotions? He can't. There's no room for it. He's already wrong walking in the door. Or you just being weak. In other words, they would refer to men being as if you're showing softness. So, in other words, you know what? I'm not even going to try. And what that does, it affects the whole relationship because one thing starts another. You get this nasty chain reaction.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say, for instance, she decides, you know what, I'm going to listen to this guy and see what he got to say. And he explains himself. And then she realized she was wrong. And she says, you know what, baby? I thought about what you said. You're 100% right. I was wrong. If I had not done this, that wouldn't have happened. Now, I'm not saying don't be responsible as an individual. I'm saying that sometimes we can affect each other's reactions by the way we treat each other.
Mm-hmm.
That again goes back to the respect.
Yeah.
Keeping the respect line is extremely high. That's the foundation of your relationship. Everything's tied to it. So what ends up happening is when the man feels like he's not even going to be listened to, he can't win the argument, and if I can use that terminology, he won't even try. Because like Wayne said earlier, he doesn't feel like he's being heard. And being heard doesn't mean she doesn't hear the words. She's not hearing the thing behind the words, the hurt, the emotion, the pain, the reason why, the things behind it. She's not hearing that part. And the reason why she's not hearing that part is because they're not connected in the way they should be. Because I remember one day when they said something to me and I reacted a certain way. And she apologized, but I wasn't hurt by it. But she looked at what I didn't say. But she interpreted it wrong. But she was willing to apologize without explanation. She just, honey, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to hurt your feelings like that. Now, that's another component that a lot of times causes a problem in our relationships. Being afraid to have your feelings hurt by a woman as a man. We deny our own humanity because of a societal training. Then you compound that with pressures of being Black and not wanting to show weakness. And then training of you're Black, you don't have pain. You're Black, you don't have pain. You have high tolerance.
You don't get to have pain because I have too much. I think that sometimes we do that as well because we're so frustrated and we're so bitter about some of the things we're not getting and the deprivations that we have as Black women that we then say, well, if I have to deal with so-and-so and still, you don't get to be this
being human.
You don't get to be weak. You don't get to be tired because I got to deal with so. It's like it's very I hate to hear that, because you still too. You even if you're not dealing with the same thing that I'm dealing with, you dealing with something. And that thing may affect you differently from something that I'm dealing with.
It's debilitating to the relationship. It's debilitating.
It is. And I think we also have to understand that we will never fully understand each other 100%.
Never.
And I think that's what's so important about communication often and early. Because if you communicate often and early, and not after you already in your feelings for 2 weeks and all that other stuff, if at the first sign of something, you let someone know. And I use this example. I was talking to EOS, Prince of Poetry. We would have some amazing conversations about relationships. And we basically break it down like this. Coming into a relationship, you have two people, right?
Right.
Two completely different backgrounds, two completely different family histories, two completely different relationship histories.
And I gotta say, we'll talk about that on another show, but family history matters in relationships.
Family history matters. I wish I knew some things. Listen,
we're gonna talk about that on a different show.
We're gonna talk about it. So I'll come back to my point. But we're gonna come back to that, baby. But so, baby, because I'm with you, but you got two people coming together with a whole different backgrounds, traumas, and everything else. So this is how we understood that people should come through the door. And this is what I mean by communicate often and early. If I'm coming through the door, and this is another thing when I say we all need to have boundaries, men and women, and they tied to those non-negotiables that Sante loves. and that we all should adopt. Okay, we all should. Come on, have those non-negotiables, set those boundaries. So if I come in and we talking or whatever, and you say something a certain way that triggers me, this is why we have to know thyself before we get into these relationships, because you have to know your triggers. That triggers me from a past relationship. Now, you don't know that. You wasn't there. You didn't know John or whoever I was in a relationship with that triggered me. You just saying what you're saying.
Right.
So communicating often and early, before this festers within me and I ain't getting my feelings and you don't even know why, because that happens all the time. Y'all know it happens all the time. I'm going to say, hey, whomever. Let's say John. Hey, John. I just want you to know that I the way you said that, it brought up something within me. Now it has nothing to do with you, but I've been through some stuff and someone I used to, and I know that has nothing to do with you. But I just want you to know that if you continue to say that in that way, it's gonna hit something within me. It's gonna trigger something. So if we can talk about a different way to go about it, or that one, you got to know yourself, you got to know your triggers and where's the source, and then you have to communicate that. Now, in the world that we live in, it'll be hard for someone to be comfortable enough, be vulnerable enough, be soft enough to say, "Hey, I'm triggered. Hey, I'm hurt there still." And this is how it makes me feel when you do this, because in our modern day mind and psyche is, oh, I don't want to say that something's wrong or that he said this way because it may run him away or whatever it may be. When I need to be upfront with you with what's going on, because you're going to keep doing that and it's going to keep hitting me and I'm going to keep cussing you out.
Like, and I'm going to keep responding.
Right.
And I'm so glad you bring that up.
What's going on?
Because that is such a big thing for me. And I actually was having a conversation with one of my good friends about this very thing. It's like, you know, one of the things I'll ask sometimes, like, how have you been naked yet? And they be like, naked? Yeah, we didn't know. No, I mean naked. And I'm talking about vulnerable, no PR agents.
Come on, no mask.
If I can't tell you what my traumas are.
No filters.
Right.
No filters. If I can't tell you what my traumas are, this is not going to work. This is not going to work.
And if you can't tell me yours,
it's not going to work. It's not going to work. And that's a very important thing that we need to do in a relationship, but we especially need to allow for Black men to do as well, because it's this assumption that they don't have traumas. Well, they dealing with a lot of the same traumas that we deal with too, and we don't see it
and
from
past hurt from relationships. We assume men are hurt from relationships.
Right.
Baby, it stays with them. Listen,
and it stays with them
elementary school girlfriends.
we be a whole lot more resilient because it takes a lot for a man to get naked in that way with the woman. So when he does and he feels secure enough to do that, and you take the heart and step on it and roll it around in the dirt, like he ain't gonna never be the same.
Right. He will take his emotional needs someplace else.
Yes.
You know what's more damaging to a relationship if a man or woman expresses the emotional part of themselves to somebody else that they have not expressed to their mate? That's worse than actually.
That's emotional cheating.
That's worse than actually having adultery, the actual sex act. But for some people, because some people I can get past that, but you express a part of yourself to someone else that you never expressed to me. That's your core.
Yeah.
So now, what you said earlier about communication early, often, true story. I'm working at the railroad. I was there about 4 or 5 years at the point. There's this man, we used to call him a colonel. He was one of those guys that come in and command the whole room. Good morning, gentlemen. And everybody say, good morning, colonel. And he would talk about folks, make fun of folks. He was just one of those strong, bold type Black men. So one day I'm sitting at lunch and he doesn't know I'm sitting there. And he comes in, this other older Black man who's around his age came in and said, hey, colonel, what's wrong, man? He said, man, I'm about to retire and live with a woman I do not even know. It's over 40 years. You know what happened in this relationship?
He was not there all the time.
The Sante today is different than the Sante when she was 20. And different than the Sante when she was 30.
Come on.
and gonna change again.
Come on.
And
Come on.
you have to stay current. You are not the same woman. You're not that little girl anymore. If Robert stays current with the new Sante, the new and improved, that's what it should be, the new and improved, then he stays up. It's just like your phone. Don't your phone every now and then say, hey, you need to get this update. You better
That app ain't gonna work.
It ain't gonna work.
You better get that update.
You know why I'm steady dropping calls, girl? You ain't
Right. You better update that phone.
You gotta get that update. Well, the same thing it is with a person. You're different now. You're gonna be different again. You're gonna be different 10 years from now.
Yes.
The 20-year-old, you're not the 30-year-old today.
Come
Different woman.
Absolutely.
Compared to then, you look at yourself 10 years ago, you said, man, I was stupid.
You know,
I was so stupid. I thought I had it going on.
I ain't have enough boundaries, I tell you that.
You know,
And my non-negotiables wasn't solid. I ain't no song
at all. Listen, and for me, especially because we met each other at 20, we ain't know nothing about ourselves.
You were what you would call unconsciously incompetent. You didn't even know you didn't know.
Right. You thought you knew a little bit, but you knew nothing at all.
I didn't know. I've always tried to be very self-aware.
Oh, okay. So you were consciously incompetent. I knew
I didn't know. I knew I didn't know a lot of things. But I also knew that I did know a lot of things, but I didn't know everything.
Right.
Wise person knows that they know nothing.
I didn't know everything. And I met him at 20. I'm much different. You know, I'm on 40, yo.
You probably still get carded. You know you're there. It's not like you discount.
You said I still be partying. You said I still be partying. No, and if I got coffee, like I be at the club drinking coffee sometimes. Don't judge me, y'all.
He said you still get carded.
Oh,
yeah.
I do.
You think you better enjoy it while it lasts, because what's going to end up happening is they're going to give you another card. It's called the senior discount card. That's
AARP show up.
Right now, I'm at the last stages of youth. You know what the last stages of youth are? That's when it's
AARP. And they keep going down too. They be like, "Oh, you're 50." He's an
So when you have the respect of understanding that you're changing as a person as you grow on, as you get older, as you're developing as an individual, if you stay in tune with trying to develop and not just growing old and dying, that's what's going to keep your relationship healthy. I'm 60. Okay, I'm not gonna live another 60 years. I know 60, right? You say, Gino, you don't look 60. It's just that gray beard giving you away.
Look at that, 25.
Your skin is popping. I ain't gonna lie to you. That's that self-care coming through. I see it, player. I see that self-care.
But the 60-year-old is different than the 50-year-old. And that's why sometimes when you say I'm almost 40, she's such a baby. She's a baby. She don't even know.
You know what? I appreciate that, Gino, because I was talking to Russia one day, and he hurt my whole feelings. I almost hung up on him. I'm so serious, because he brought up. We was talking about he was asking questions about vicarious trauma, and I was explaining to him how to recognize what vicarious trauma is, and we were having a conversation about that. And I referenced 9/11 as a example of when people had vicarious trauma. And I was like, I experienced that watching it. And he was like, I don't really remember being affected at all by 9/11. I think I was like in 6th grade. And I said, wait, what? He said, I was in the 6th grade. I said, you was in the what? He said, when 9/11 happened, yeah. He was like, I believe I was in the 6th grade. I said, you a lie. He said, no, I was in the 6th grade. I said, I don't want to talk to you no more. He said, why? I said, I was a freshman in college when that happened. And you talking about some 6th grade? I said, I don't even want to talk to you no more.
I don't want to talk to you now.
Right. Because
you know what I was doing.
What were you? Working a
grown man with children.
Had
a house.
Right.
I was at the barber shop when I had hair. Get the hair.
Talk about when I had hair.
I was 18 years old when that girl shut up.
I mean, that's the thing about life. We all gonna get older, and remember when, and somebody always gonna be younger than us.
I know, but I'm not prepared for that. I was.
We grow as we get older, and we should.
He'll talk about something. And it's always gonna be people younger than us. Okay, the three of us on the screen, who's the youngest?
I mean, always the youngest in the room. I'm always the youngest in the room. Listen, I claim that and I appreciate that because I'm always getting the wisdoms. Okay, that's why I'm wise beyond my years because I be sitting at the feet like, what's going on here?
Well,
good. In my notebook, y'all know me. Oh, okay.
You don't look your age. That's good, but I can tell you that after 21, 30 came real fast. I know that. They came like, and listen, ladies, I'm gonna have to leave because I got to take care of somebody else. But it was a plum pleasing pleasure.
Yes,
I would love.
And thank you for your wisdom. Thank you for your concepts and blessing us with the male experience. And we love you, and we love all our black men out there, Wayne. We love you too.
Yes, Wayne.
Internet.
We gonna figure it out though, because this brother has so much to share, and I need these words to be reaching our viewers and whoever watch this. So we gonna figure this out, Wayne. I may have to
we gonna figure it out.
But we gonna figure it out.
I'm gonna reach back to you. I want to hear more about vicarious trauma because that is something that I'm studying on in terms of how to help people in their relationships. And I need to get as much information as I possibly can. I'm not one of those type of people that, I had all these birthdays, I can't learn anything. That's stupid. And I'm not stupid.
That's what I was just saying. As long as we alive, we should be learning. So growing with your partner should not be a foreign concept because you got to grow with your doggone self.
Right,
I definitely want to do a show about vicarious trauma because that is a generational curse and people don't realize it. Right. That we experience a lot of trauma that we didn't go through personally, that just happens around us, and how it affects how we deal with each other too.
And it's parented into us too. Our parents go through stuff and they teach us to be afraid of things.
Because a lot of the trauma I have is not mine. It's my grandmother's, it's my great grandmother's,
it's my inherited trauma.
It's my heritage trauma. And that's all generational trauma and vicarious trauma are one and the same. Okay. They're very much alike. And so as someone that works in a trauma-informed job, I work with sexual violence survivors and also DV. Sometimes hearing the story, sometimes one of the things that we do, well, pre-COVID, I haven't been in the ER since COVID, but we go into the ERs when someone is sexually assaulted and we provide that support and advocacy to them while they're going through the evidence collection kit, etc. And sometimes it's children. Sometimes you hear these stories. I've gone in and seen women battered, bruised, beaten to an inch of their life. I've gone in, and just women been hurt and just so devastated. You hear their stories and it's hard. Like there has been times where I'm driving home from that call and I'm bawling in the car because just from hearing and seeing the level of brutality in the world. So we experience vicarious trauma so much and we don't know what it is. And it also affects our depression as well because, we do experience that. Everything going on with social injustice with George Floyd, that video, vicarious trauma, I didn't sleep for weeks.
All the videos.
All of that, all the videos, all the knowledge. Every time we see something, I have to stop looking at it after a while because it's like I'm there and I'm experiencing it in that moment. So we'll do a show about vicarious trauma. I'm also super passionate about vicarious trauma as well as social emotional learning because y'all know how I feel about that. But all of that plays a role in social emotional learning is understanding when trauma isn't yours and how to build that boundary because we need boundaries vicarious trauma too. So I would love to talk about that. We're gonna have a show about it. But Gino, I can't thank you enough.
Thank you.
You're more than welcome. I'm going to give you one recommendation. If you can find this book, it's called Envy of the World.
Right now. Let me put it in my car.
World.
It's by author, I don't know how you pronounce his last name, but it's Ellis. I'm going to say Cose, Cose. I don't know if it's Cose or Cose, but it's Ellis Cose, and it's called Envy of the World. It's a one-day read. It is a phenomenal book. I did a portion of it in a Black History Month program some years ago, and I have a writing of it. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna send it to you ladies. And it was a speech I had given from excerpts of this book, and I remember a man telling me about this book years ago. He said there's a book called Envy of the World, The Black Man. That's the name of the book, Envy of the World, The Black Man. And when
I just found it. It's in my Amazon cart. It'll be here in 2 days.
Somehow instant.
Oh, there you go then. There it is. It is a phenomenal read. I found it by accident some years ago and held on to it. And I would encourage you to read the book. And the other book I was telling you about, Black Pain, We Just Look Like We're Not Hurting, was written by Terry Mulligan, I think her last name is. Mm-hmm. Oh, Macmillan, or something like that. It's Terry Macmillan or Millen. It's called Black Pain, We Just Look Like We're Not Hurting. That's another good book to read. And so these are things that we need to recognize and respect about each other. If we do that, we can have a phenomenal future together in terms of a Black community. Yeah. Stop turning on each other and start turning to each other.
Yes. Can I recommend a book?
Sure.
I've recommended it often, but I'm gonna recommend it every time. The Four Agreements.
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 Can I get it?
That book is life changing. It's about 25-minute read. Like, it's short book, but it is life changing. Just principles on how we can just make small changes within ourselves. Something Wayne was talking about earlier, changing yourself, and that's the power movement right there. And how that can affect our world and the world around us.
We are the common denominators. Be looking out. I'm in the process of writing something myself, and that is something I definitely want to bring to the forefront and talk about that as well. But yes, please write down all of these books. Check these books out. Read it.
Is this by John Miguel Ruiz?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I got it.
I got like 10 books in my Amazon cart.
Right.
I don't know if y'all know that about me. I have a book addiction, so I buy books all day.
We gonna talk book club coming soon.
Hey now.
We gonna talk about these books.
We gonna talk about this book. We gonna get this healing.
Yeah, I got.
We gonna talk in the Healing Academy. We gonna have a book club.
One last book for the men. For the men. One last book for the men. It's called The Role of the Superior Man.
Say that again.
Ooh, the role of the superior man.
The way of the superior man.
Ooh.
Great book. Written by David Ida. Great book. It is, women would be standing up cheering this book because it deals with your masculinity, your vulnerability, and your responsibility.
Let me put that in my cart. Can I
the way of
the superior man? And it did.
And we're going to list all of these books for you guys to check out and put them in your cart. And maybe we'll make this a new thing.
He said that book will put you on.
Okay, yeah. All right, Wayne.
He said, look, where is knowledge coming from?
Yeah, I know. Yes. So we start making a book list. So we could talk about that and get this healing and
real quick, Gino, while you're still on the line, after Sunday's conversation for the men's heart-to-heart panel discussion we had, and again, you guys can find that on the Healing Academy page or on the YouTube. We decided to start men's mentor groups for young men, but then men's healing groups, and we're going to do some healing retreats and self-care retreats for men and some workshops for men and young men. So I would, and Wayne, all the other men that's on the line, I would love for you all to get connected with us and not only create a camaraderie and a safe space for men to share and talk things through, just you guys, but then also passing that knowledge down to young men so they don't have to struggle in the places that you guys did.
Yeah.
Okay. Sounds good. I can find the information. Where can I find the information?
On the Healing Academy page, on the Facebook, on our website. We're gonna be blasting it out, but I'll send it to you.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, Wayne, I'm gonna send it to you too.
We're gonna send it to everybody because we're gonna share with everybody.
We're gonna share it too.
We're gonna share it. Okay. Yeah, I want to thank all of you for sticking with us and hanging in there with us every Wednesday. Y'all are here and we love and appreciate y'all. And it's just refreshing to know that we all in this space on this healing journey. So thank y'all for being with us.
If you ever need me again, I'll set my schedule. If you need me again, let me know.
We will be.
We're gonna need you again.
We gonna need you again.
Okay. Just give me a week notice so I can set my Wednesday up for you.
And also, y'all check Gino out. He is also a marriage and relationship counselor with his beautiful wife, who has been on the show in the past as well.
I'm hoping she ain't busy next week for the women's portion. I was gonna reach out to her.
Reach out to her.
Okay, because Miss Renee be having that knowledge too.
She come with the work. They both do. Okay,
yes.
So if y'all need somebody to talk to, y'all find Mr. Gino and Miss Renee. They get y'all right together. If this conversation ain't told y'all nothing.
Absolutely. And yes, Wayne, you shall return. We gonna figure this out, brother, because we need to get this
internet, and we gonna get them right. Put the balls on them, whatever we need to do to get you back.
If we gotta get some aluminum foil, we gonna figure it out.
Up there with the antenna.
I'm telling my age. Y'all don't know about having to turn a TV like this.
Maybe. No, when the handle broke off and you had to get the pliers.
Make sure it's rubber tip so you don't shock yourself.
Yeah. We definitely don't need to die today. We're gonna have to get the rubber tip.
The struggle is real. We're gonna get on out of here. Thank y'all for joining us tonight. Join us next week where we're gonna be talking about the things that Black women struggle with, and really just trying to facilitate this healing and this understanding between us. We need each other, y'all, and we in this together. And the only way we're gonna do it is by talking it out. We got to talk it out. So join us next week, y'all. If you're interested in being a part of that show, to the ladies, to the Black women out there, hit us up. Let me know. I'd love to have you. Wayne is talking about turning the channel with the pliers. He know.
No, you know what I'm talking about. Y'all been there. Look, I might be young, but I ain't that young.
Well, you still young.
Just get that bug.
Yes.
Yes, please, y'all. 4 agreements to change your life.
We're gonna list these books on the page tomorrow, so you guys can check that out and add it to your book list. So we will see y'all next Wednesday. Thank y'all for joining.
And happy Father's Day again. Early Father's for all the men out there. And all y'all Black men, know that you are loved, you are respected, you are important, you are
needed.
You are
you is kind, you is important.
For real, y'all are powerhouses, and we need you. We need you to be okay. Your mental health is important because you are a strong piece of this beautiful puzzle of all of this melanin, and we need you.
We're gonna go cuddle, y'all, because I feel like I need to
go cuddle your bae. And don't forget Juneteenth.
Yeah,
of Illinois on the 19th. Y'all come hear me. I'll be speaking about the history of Juneteenth on Saturday from 11 to 6. Well, I won't be speaking from 11 to 6, but the event is from 11 to 6. It's gonna be a live band. It's gonna be a DJ. It's gonna be vendors. A whole lot of past. We gonna talk. Guests will be there vending and performing, and a whole lot of stuff. Is at the Black United Fund of Illinois. Y'all will find it on my page. I'll share it to We Gonna Talk.
All right. Well, good night, y'all. Thank y'all for having us.